Hi, everybody. Welcome to our live stream. We are on YouTube and we're going to bring in our let's start that over again. A little blooper. Um, Hi, everybody. Carrie Donegan, your host, and we are going to bring in the Win-Win Women audience. There you are. Welcome, Win-Win Women audience to Radical Age Reversal. I'm Carrie Donegan, and we are diving back into the book. Eat to Beat Your Diet. I love this book. I hope you're enjoying it. We are going to start a whole new section today, which is exciting. And by the way, happy Easter to those who celebrate, and also my deepest condolences to all Catholics who are mourning the loss of Pope Francis this morning. So our hearts and minds are with all of you as you go through this difficult time of change. That is something that's true of all of us. Every day is new. We have things that we are sad about, we have things that we're grateful for, and all of that is incorporated into our longevity. So just keep remembering that your mind sets the pattern for how you live and what's going to happen next. You want to be intentional, you want to be joyful, and you want to live your life as good as you possibly can. There's so many things to do. And if you are in a moment of anxiety, depression, if you are struggling with something, the best thing for you to do is to stop, find some silence, try to calm yourself, use those vagus nerve techniques that we've taught on the show. But most importantly, you want to dive into deep gratitude for every moment, every breath, every molecule of your being and everything that surrounds us. I was just in awe yesterday as we were celebrating Easter and looking at all the amazing foods that people were sharing online and even the foods that were on our own table. And I just was astounded by the choice that we have, by the abundance that we have. I had these giant strawberries. Have you seen these strawberries? And they were organic. So, I'm hoping that nothing untoward happened to them, but they were just spectacular. And I thought, dear God, how beautiful. Thank you so much. Like, if that is the only good thing that happened in my life yesterday was to eat the luscious strawberry, why would you not rejoice over that? Just so much to be thankful for. And I think that's kind of the attitude he jumps into in this next chapter. And just to kind of go over what I want you to pick out of our talk today, number one, we're going to talk about is food as your number one focus when it comes to how to get your nutrition. Second, we're going to talk about supplementation, why that's important in our current modern world. I think it's something that we've probably talked about ad nauseum. You know that already. I won't spend a ton of time on that. And thirdly, we're going to talk about uh, eating in moderation. And I think that's so very important. And so maybe something that's overlooked and something that could be the secret to everyone's success. So less is more, perhaps, for sure. All right, let's dive in. So I'm going to quote from him as he begins chapter 5 because I love his words and I think I don't do them any service by trying to summarize them. On page 103, he says, everything I shared in the last few chapters are my attempt, may tempt some people to fight fat by becoming a biohacker, someone who uses a do-it-yourself biology to improve well-being. Perhaps by taking a capsule or creating a meal replacement that manipulates your metabolism and fat so that you don't need to think about the benefits of real food. But I strongly recommend taking a food-based approach. So that's our point number one today. We are diving into the next few chapters and we're really talking about the importance of real food and why that should be the thing that sustains us. That was what God gave us, right? The food has been put here for a reason. Now we've over farmed, we pick things too soon. We don't have luscious, agricultural environments that we live in anymore where we can go out into our yards. I mean, some of you, I hope you are growing your own food, but for other people, maybe not so much. I think it's important for us to remember that sometimes we just have to look at the age of the food, look at where it comes from, and ask ourselves, yes, I'm going to start with the food. but I know I have to supplement as well. I have to kind of nutritionize my meal, right? Just give it a little bit of a top off. So 80% I know I'm going to get from my food, but 10%, 20%, I'm still going to have to supplement with. So that's where the VMG Plus comes in, the Omega Plus comes in, the Restore comes in, the Recharge if you need electrolytes come in. Okay, so basic things. I'm not saying take a million different multivitamins, and I am encouraging you to take a whole food supplement, which VMG Plus is. It's a whole food supplement. It has some probiotics in it, has essential oils in it, right? So it really is a natural thing. It's just nutrient dense, right? So get some nutrient dense supplementation and real food. So let's look at what he says. He says his number one priority is that my meal must taste great. Wouldn't that be really important? Isn't that really important? I don't know if I've talked about this study on on this show before, but I want to bring it up now because people will say to me, "Well, what tastes really good to me is like bad foods, right? Like, so if I want something that's going to taste good, I'm going to turn to ice cream and cake and candy and highly processed foods like potato chips." No, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about real food and how real food tastes great. So, what's going on in your body that you might be drawn to those things that aren't healthy for you? So, here's a really cool study that I want you to think about. They did a study, and I think it was for 1 year, and they took people who were metabolically really unhealthy, and what they had them do was every other day they got to eat, and they got to eat whatever they wanted. So let's say Monday, you could eat whatever you wanted. Tuesday, you couldn't eat at all. Wednesday, you could eat whatever you wanted. Thursday, you couldn't eat at all. Friday, you could eat whatever you wanted. You're getting the picture. Okay, here's what happened. Number one, after a year, they were all metabolically stable no matter what they ate. So I think that's cool. So the power of fasting is absolutely there. Number two, which I think was more important, was as they were doing this study and as they went through the program, they found themselves being drawn to healthier foods as time went on. So, as their body was repairing itself, as they were cleaning out their livers, they were getting rid of some of the bad foods that they had been really sustaining themselves on. They found that actually they were switching their diet naturally. They really wanted the good, healthy food. So, I think that speaks volumes. And I think it's something that we should take a pause and incorporate into our own life. You could do the study. You could eat every other day and see how that works for your body. I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea, especially if you're metabolically unhealthy, which means things like I have cholesterol problems, diabetes, I'm overweight, I don't have a lot of muscle tone, I'm tired all the time, I'm nervous all the time, I have anxiety, my hormones are out of balance, I have chronic cardiac problems, I have chronic pulmonary problems, I get sick all the time. I think you understand where I'm going with this. Certainly, if you have cancers or seizures or anything like that, try the every other day diet. I hate even to use the word diet because he's telling us not to use the word diet. So sorry, Dr. Lee, don't want to use the word diet. He's talking about a way of life. So if you want to incorporate that as your way of life, do it and put it in the comments section. Let us know, how that's working for you. Of course, you want to contact your medical professional, especially if you're someone who has never fasted before, or you have concerns about your own health, or you're on a lot of medications, things like that. You definitely want to get a practitioner involved. But you can also look up the study and see if it's something that resonates with you. So I thought it was kind of cool, and I wanted to share that with everyone. When your body is healthier, it's going to be drawn to healthier foods. And when your body is in disrepair, it may be drawn to things that are not as healthy for it, which is kind of backwards, but interesting. So, let's keep moving forward. So he talks about in the book his Mediterranean approach, which I always thought that was pretty cool. So he likes Mediterranean food and he likes Asian food. And I think we have to understand what the Mediterranean is. There are 21 countries that are around the Mediterranean, not just Italy, not just France, whatever you think of as Mediterranean foods that come to mind. Slovenia is around the Mediterranean, Greece, Tunisia, Morocco. Okay, so there's lots of countries that touch the Mediterranean Sea. And then why does he pull in Asian foods? Well, a lot of the reason has to do with blue zones and longevity platforms and what he's looking at. And he's saying, firstly, and I think really the reason that he picks Mediterranean Asian food is he likes it. It's delicious. And I think because of the popularity of Asian restaurants and Mediterranean, different types of Mediterranean restaurants all over the world, there probably is something to that. We are all drawn to some of those really yummy foods. So why not go with it? I think it's a great idea. But number two, he talks up in the book about the Silk Route, and he talks about the exchange of goods and foods. He talks about how peaches and apricots came from China, for example, and now they thrive in Mediterranean countries. He talks about cinnamon. He talks about the transfer of tons of spices, right? So everything from saffron to turmeric to, of course, cinnamon, cloves, and mushrooms, lobsters, all kinds of things he talks about in the book, which I think is pretty cool. And he throws it together and calls it Mediterranean. Now, what I didn't realize, and then he brought up, was sort of this Mediterranean diet that people talk about was something that was just kind of coined by a professor in the 1950s. His name was Ansel Keys. He was at the University of Minnesota, so nowhere near the Mediterranean. And he talked about the health benefits of the Mediterranean diet because he was trying to get Americans to eat differently. What he saw that was that Americans were eating a lot of fast food. They were eating a lot of beef. They were eating a lot of processed foods. They were eating a lot of soda, drinking a lot of soda, and he wanted it to stop, right? It was sort of the big boom of the fast food restaurant. And people were eating this every day, right? They weren't eating in their homes. And we can talk about the breakdown of the family and the family table and discussion and all kinds of really interesting things. I was watching a seminar the other day where some very learned people were sitting around and talking about how young people are being robbed of the dinner table, of being able to sit around a dinner table and discuss things as opposed to sitting around with their devices and literally consuming information and consuming food at the same time instead of exchanging information and exchanging food. So, my question to you is your table a source of exchange or is it a source of consumption only? And if you are consuming things constantly and not producing things, then what is being put back into the world? What is your purpose? What is it that you are supposed to be doing that you're not doing? Because I believe that we're here to spend more time in contribution so that there's abundance for people to be able to then consume and enjoy. If we're all just sucking from the resources of the world, be that a physical resource like plants or an emotional resource like support or an intellectual resource like ideas and the exchange of ideas, we are going to end up with a lack of information, a lack of plants, and a lack of emotional support. And that may be why so many people are suffering today, just because we're not contributing and consuming in a balanced way. So, something to consider for this week as we enter into a whole new week. Again, I really want you to focus on three things. One is, are you eating real food? Whether it's Mediterranean or not. I love the Mediterranean idea. I love the Silk Route idea. If you want to do some reading on the Silk Route and see what foods have exchanged back and forth. But I think most of us um, kind of understand what might fall into those categories. Trying new foods is something that he highly recommends. He gives a really cool map of the Silk Road on page 107 and of the Mediterranean Sea on 108. And I think we can learn a lot by what if you just looked up one dish a day from each of the 21 countries around the Mediterranean? Or you looked up one ingredient a day from every country considered part of Asia. How would that change the way you eat? Could you take an experiment and incorporate some of those foods into your daily routine or weekly routine or monthly shopping trip? I think all of that would be Really, really interesting. I know I'm going to give it a try. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Eat to beat your diet. Secondly, whole food supplementation. Make sure you're getting your VMG at least, if not that, and your omegas and your probiotic, which is called Restore, because you do need to give some nutrient back into your routine just to make sure that what the foods that you're eating are still plentiful, are still rich foods. They may taste good, but they may not actually be nutrient dense anymore because of our modern world. And thirdly, moderation. Moderation is something that's going to help us all. So whether you do that through fasting by limiting your eating window, which is my choice, or you do it by portion control, which is another way of doing just eating less can be one of the best ways for us to feel better and live longer. So, here's to breaking the limits of age and living each day with vitality. Keep thriving, and I'll see you in the next episode of Radical Age Reversal. Go have a great week.